Warm greetings from the high 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday to all of you. I hope you all have a safe and blessed weekend. Get out, get you some air, a little bit of sun. Please be safe. I'm going to send out prayers to the Judd family, the extended family, the girls. This is a very trying time for them. I will do a video pertaining to the suicide pertaining to Naomi Judd because I didn't even know that she had killed herself. I had just saw where she had passed away, and I never went into any information pertaining to her death until I saw a video where a man was saying that she had indeed killed herself, and the daughter Ashley was explaining why they came forward to speak as to, I guess, acknowledge that the mother had a mental problem before the rhetoric got started. So I will make a video about that to ask, why did she do this at such a late age in life? Because it's very interesting that a person would have a decent life, could take care of him or herself, not financially bankrupt, friends, family, living well above their means. I mean, living well, maybe better than the most, let's say. Why would this person take their own life at such a late age? What was she going through? Was she schizophrenic? What was her issues? And I will try to get information. Hopefully someone can explain what she was going through and if indeed what her mental disorder or disorders are. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to bring you content pertaining to a Texas inmate that's on the loose. I'm not going to say that I will cover this story, but it's just to bring you information pertaining to this story because of the topic of Vicky White and Casey White. After I bring you information about this Texas inmate that is on the run, I will also talk about the responsibility of this Lauderdale detention facility. Who's at fault? Who was responsible for both the inmate and the jailer? What will change pertaining to what happened? Are these people taking it serious that this man got out of their jail with their own jailer? I will also talk about Casey's lawyer, who now wants a change of venue and has a defense stating that his client is insane. And also the dry run. I will not hold my peace on that subject matter because I tried to be very diplomatic pertaining to the sheriff there. But I won't hold my peace today, considering the information that has just been released pertaining to a dry run of Vicky White taking Casey White out of the jail days before they broke out. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. First information is about the inmate on the loose. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of what is going on. The search continues Friday for a Texas inmate serving a life sentence for murder who escaped from a transport bus after stabbing the driver. Gonzalo Lopez, 46, escaped custody Thursday after he overpowered the driver, whose injuries were not considered life-threatening, said Jason Clark, chief of staff for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Lopez was convicted in 2006 of killing a man along the Texas-Mexico border. Lopez escaped at Leon County, a rural area between Dallas and Houston. Classes in the nearby Centerville Independent School District were canceled Friday as a precaution. The Leon County Sheriff's Office said several agencies were involved in the search Friday, including aircraft from the Texas Department of Public Safety. There were 16 prisoners aboard the bus, but no one else escaped, Clark said. Leon County has roughly 16,000 residents and is about 50 miles north of the state's prison headquarters. Prison records show Lopez was most recently being held at a lockup at Gatesville, more than 100 miles from where authorities were searching. Other prisoners in Texas have also escaped transport vehicles over the years. Among the most recent was in 2019, when an MMA fighter suspected of killing two people fled from a van and was missing for 9 hours. Authorities said he was eventually found hiding in a trash can. This information is by News 5, NBC, DFW. So this is a hot mess. Let me see if I can play commentary pertaining to this story. One moment. Thank you all for joining me.
Your white fabrics become not so white. OxyClean White gently revives white.
47 viewing. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody in the chat. Happy Friday to all of you. Be safe, please. Well, they're not going to play anything. But that's the latest coming out of Texas. A man serving life for murder escaped from a transport bus Thursday after stabbing the driver, setting off a search in rural county between Dallas and Houston, praying that he is caught and does not harm anyone else out here. Thank you for joining me. NBC 5 is the source, DFW. I will now go into my next commentary. Pertaining to Vicky and Casey White. Thank you for joining me. NewsNationNow.com is the source. Source number 2. Was inmate manipulation a factor in Casey White's escape? This is uploaded today. And yes, today is Friday the 13th of all days. Shut your mouth. We will likely never get to find out why Alabama correctional officer Vicky White helped inmate Casey White escape from jail before embarking with him on a venture that led police on an 11-day manhunt. Vicky White fatally shot herself in Evansville, Indiana, shortly before she and Casey White were caught by law enforcement. Vicky's death means the chances are slim of ever learning why the veteran correctional officer who was nearing retirement would help free an inmate locked up on violent charges. But Anthony Gangi, the author of Correctional Manipulation, a book about how inmates can manipulate guards, has seen this kind of thing before. He calls it downing a duck when an inmate takes advantage of a guard. Downing a duck is really taking advantage of a staff member that may be a little bit too gullible or naive to the complexity of inmate manipulation, Gangi said Thursday of News Nation's Prime. Thank you, Cassidy. He said the game of inmate manipulation is very subtle. It can occur when a guard wants to help an inmate without being defined by the roles of the institution, which gives the inmate an opening to take advantage. Why would an officer, especially one like Vicky White, risk so much to help an inmate? Vicky White sold her home for far under market value, took $90,000 out of the bank, and eventually lost her life in an effort to free Casey White from jail. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I think their loyalty shifts. I think the inmate gets them to minimize the consequences by building a trust with them, Gangi said. Most of the time, the external incentive not to do something is usually based on not getting caught, which isn't strong enough when an inmate is able to challenge that. Gangi said inmates search for vulnerabilities in officers, looking for those who might be easily manipulated. This means analyzing their disposition, their defined purpose, and whether or not they might be able to be pulled out of their role. Another thing they look at is the environment. And if you have an environment that isn't complacent, then the inmate is going to say, well, this isn't worth the effort, Gangi said. But if you have an environment that is lax, then the problem is you're not setting up enough obstacles up to prevent the inmate from playing the game. Very well said. Very well said. Authorities said Casey and Vicky White, who are not related, had a special relationship. Yet specifics of why Vicky decided to free Casey from jail in Lauderdale County, Alabama, remain unknown. Vicky is now dead, and Casey is back behind bars after he was apprehended by police shortly after Vicky took her own life. This is News Nation Prime. If you need a source, this is a very well-written article, I have to admit. This person who wrote this book, let me get his name in case some of you are interested in purchasing the book or reading it online. Anthony Gangi, Gangi. He is the author of Correctional Manipulation. I will possibly try to get the book myself this weekend because I would like to read everything he has to say in the book, because what he said in this article is so very true. I will reread what he says about how the inmate chooses his victim to manipulate, bamboozle, hoodwink. It reads as follows. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. He says he has seen this kind of thing before. He calls it downing a duck. This is when an inmate takes advantage of a guard. Downing a duck is taking advantage of a staff member that may be a little bit too gullible, naive to the complexity of inmate manipulation. Gangi said to News Nation's Prime. He said the game of inmate manipulation is very subtle. It occurs when a guard wants to help an inmate without being defined by the roles of the institution, which gives the inmate an opening to take advantage. Well said. Very well said. Let me see if there's anything else in here I'd like to mention. He also says their loyalty shifts. I think the inmate gets them to minimize the consequences by building a trust with them. Most of the time, the external incentive not to do something is usually based on not getting caught, which isn't strong enough when an inmate is able to challenge that. The inmates are searching for vulnerabilities in officers, looking for those who might be easily manipulated. This means analyzing their disposition, their defined purpose, and whether or not they might be able to be pulled out of their role. Another thing to look at is the environment. If you have an environment that isn't complacent, then the inmate is going to say, well, this isn't worth the effort, Gangi said. But if you have an environment that is lax, then the problem is you're not setting up enough obstacles to prevent the inmate from playing the game. Well said, Mr. Gangi. Thank you for that information. And thank you, News Nation Prime. They are the source of this information. It is a game because it's the game of the survival of the fittest, self-serving. I got to get out of here. I need to get out of here. I think this person who was Vicki White can help me get out of here. And she was the person because she is the actual person that got him out of there. She is the person that got him out of there. Once again, News Nation is the source. NBC5, I brought you information pertaining to a Texas inmate that's on the loose. He stabbed the driver of the prison bus. And now I will play you audio pertaining to this subject. This is a 3-part conversation pertaining to Casey White and Vicky White, who is now deceased. His lawyers want to change the venue. His defense for his client is that he's insane. And my last one will be the one I will touch on the most, which is the dry run. Was there a dry run exacted in that jail before April 29th? I say yes, because they now have video footage that they have reviewed the sheriff of Vicky leaving the jail days before with Casey White in tow, and allegedly they were only gone what he considers around the block. Well, your block may not be considered a block, city block as New York City or Chicago. The point is she left with him beforehand and you didn't know nothing, didn't see nothing, and then days later she leaves out with him and stays gone for 11 days. That's a damn problem. As it is time for you all to acknowledge Sheriff Singleton, you are the problem. Your jailers are the problem. Thank you for joining me. Let's get this party started, everybody. Court TV is the source. Who is more responsible for hatching this escape plan?
Rising prices of it is all pretty hard.
Sorry about that. Commercials they got to get their money.
Late last night at the Lauderdale County Jail, which is where he initially escaped with the help of Vicky. An autopsy is now being conducted to determine exactly how Vicky died and whether she did actually die from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, Julie.
All right, Joy Limnacker in the studio with that story. So sad. We'll await the autopsy findings, I suppose, and see where things go next. Thank you for all of that. Let me bring in now my guest. I have with me former Assistant State Attorney, Civil Rights Attorney, and Criminal Defense defense attorney Sue Ann Robinson. She's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and in Nashville, Tennessee, retired police sergeant Melissa Pinkleton. Wow, this case is really something so peculiar. It's hard to know what in the world the relationship was, how something like this happens. Sue Ann, tell me, what questions do you have in your mind as we learn more details about this case, please?
I definitely have questions about their interaction in the facility, but I have questions about his past attempts for escapes, because it's my understanding that he's tried to escape in the past, and he's done so by kind of winning the trust of corrections officers. So I would like to hear from them what happened in those instances, to try to put together how he could have, kind of connected with this corrections officer and gotten to this point. I also want to hear more information about the medical autopsy and what happened with respect to the what's being called the self-inflicted gunshot wound, because it just seems so bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre, but then certainly her to shoot herself during the conduct of this escape seems so unlikely. And so I'm very interested to see what the autopsy says and how that relates to how, the alleged shooting occurred.
Right. I'm very interested to see that as well, Sue Ann. I would not be surprised if the medical examiner finds that this was a homicide. Sergeant Melissa Pinkleton, give us your thoughts. And of course, you're speaking from the perspective of someone who served in law enforcement. What stands out to you with this one, please?
I can't relate in the fashion of someone who served in law enforcement to this, because it's to me, it's ridiculous. She is a corrections officer. She should not be having any kind of a interpersonal relationship with this inmate. And I think that with the autopsy, I'm curious to find out how they rule it as well, because it makes sense to me that she would shoot herself, because I think it was an all or nothing thing. They were either going to go all in. That's why they had the weapons. That's why I don't know if you have reported this or not, but she had sold her house, from my understanding, and had a lot of cash. I was not aware that he had made a previous escape attempt. That is something that I didn't know, but it doesn't make sense to me that she would throw her entire life away and run away with him. But it does make sense that they knew they were going to get caught, and she was like, I'm not going to jail where he's going, because she's been a corrections officer and she knows what jail is like. It is not a good place. It's horrible.
No, nobody wants to head there. We have some video, and just want to give everyone at home a warning. You may find this very disturbing. This is dash camera video. These are the moments in which first responders are trying to save her in the car after she has allegedly shot herself. We'll see what the autopsy findings tell us. But there you can see various sets of hands in that car working on her, trying to help her. You saw a weapon grabbed there. Sergeant Pinkleton, just playing devil's advocate with the analysis here, would it surprise you if, and who knows, we don't know what the circumstances are, but is it possible for a criminal, we know this guy is one, is it possible to have a situation where he may be having her hand holding that gun, but his hand's over top of it, making it appear to be that she shot herself, but in fact it was him?
It could be possible. It just depends on the time frame. If they were actively pursuing them, he's not going to have time to do that, and when they're driving. It could be possible, but I don't think it's likely in this scenario at all, because they were in the middle of fleeing.
Really good point.
All right, that's Court TV. That's a day ago content. As most of you already know, it has been verified by the coroner's office in Indiana that she indeed killed herself, Vicki White. And as this officer has said, he didn't have time to try to do anything to force her or shoot her because he's speeding. And you hear her saying that in the audio briefly. Casey, stop. They're trying to kill us. So she's either talking about the person ramming the car or the damn airbags. Take your pick. But as this officer said, she's been to jail. She worked in the jail, so she knows what jail life is about. She made a hasty decision to kill herself. She didn't want to go to jail. Like she said, it's all in or nothing. And once again, all this talk about a shootout, it never happened. All those guns, instead of her shooting back at the police out the car, she shot herself. So that should tell you something right there, that maybe despite his past of trying to escape, killing other people, acting violent, methed up, doped up, he wasn't trying to do no shootout. He went peacefully out of the car, because once the car was wrecked, really wasn't much he could do because the car was turned over in the ditch. So he had no choice but to surrender. 2, she's already leaving the earth when they pull her out of the car. As the woman said, the opportunity wasn't there for them to do anything once the car turned over. Now, being pursued, that would have been the time to have the shootout. But they didn't. So you can ask yourself that. Why not? All this artillery in the car. She obviously had a gun in the car because she shot herself. Why didn't they shoot at the police with all those guns? Whether it was in the car, in the trunk, you get the point. No shootout. Because maybe these two aren't what people thought. They did not want no shootout. Because they had ample enough time to shoot out the window. She could have shot out the window because she was free. Hands free. He's driving. I'm done with that subject. I don't want to talk about that anymore. It's a mute point with the queen. Any content I discuss pertaining to this case is on my community board in case you miss anything in this live. WHNT News 19 has done a special about this situation, and I'm going to play it last, and then I'm going to give you my commentary. What are the lessons learned pertaining to this jail escape? WVTM 13 News, this is the source. This was uploaded 1 hour ago.
County Jail, home to 500 inmates.
Anytime you're dealing with people, we're complex beings. Normally when something bad happens, it's a human error.
In the days since Deputy Vicki White took her own life, Sheriff Matthew Wade of Calhoun County wonders,
how come, why people want to blame Sheriff Singleton? Or they want to blame X or Y. You know, in America, we got to learn to take responsibility for ourselves. And somewhere down the line, she made some decision somewhere where she thought that was a better idea than doing the right thing. Maybe it was a mental health issue that she was going through. I understand she lost her husband. Things happen in people's lives. And once again, there's no resources. There's not an EA. There's not an employee assistance program.
at the county jails like this one here in Calhoun County, there's a constant interaction between inmates and corrections officers. The policies, the procedures, well, they're only as good as the people involved.
If somebody tries to devise an evil plan to make evil happen, it'll make it so. Look at 9/11. Inmates manipulate people. Inmates try their best to crack the armor of officers. And on occasion it does happen, but ultimately that officer had to make that decision. And it happens around here. I arrested a correctional officer last Friday.
Bad apples are rare, but this is mighty tough work.
In the state of Alabama, there is zero requirements, training requirements, educational requirements. There is zero requirements to be a correctional officer in the state of Alabama. They all get their training on the job.
And that is some tough job. Sheriff Wade tells me all 3,000 sheriff's offices around the country have been thinking of ways to prevent future escapes like the one here in Alabama. His jail is being thoroughly renovated, but he says no amount of technology or policies can defeat every manipulation or dishonest act.
Jeff, is Sheriff Wade familiar with his counterpart for Lauderdale County?
He absolutely is, and he calls Rick Singleton a fine sheriff, an even finer human being. In fact, Wade told Singleton today how much he admired his transparency and his efforts during this escape ordeal that ended, as we know, earlier this week.
All right. WVTM 13 News is the source. This is pertaining to lessons learned from Lauderdale County jail escape. You hear this neighboring sheriff speaking about Sheriff. Thank you, Broomer. Thank you so much, sweetheart. You hear him speaking, saying it's a human situation. Can't blame the sheriff for his own jailer aiding an inmate out. Well, that is true. Each person needs to stand account for his or her ways. I truly agree with that. But what you cannot explain is Vicky taking him out days before. So what are you saying? Somebody has to stand account. We already know what she did. We already know what she did was wrong. But the point is, who's watching the cameras? Who's knowing the protocol? All of them are supposed to know the protocol. You're also saying that they don't get any training except for on the job. Well, that's common sense. That's the only way anybody gets any training is on the job. I don't care what your job is. Nurse, doctor, lawyer, garbage man, candlestick maker, baker. You don't know about baking cakes until you bake a damn cake. You don't know how to build a house until you build a house. I get it. But what the hell does it have to do with days before? I asked that question days before. Has she taken him out of that jail before? And Mr. Singleton's response was pertaining to what he saw in the video. Oh, they just went around the block the time she went, not 40 minutes. Who gives a rat's ass? The point is she went out of that jail again on the day she did the break. That's the point. It's bad enough she left, stayed on the run. They would still be on the run if they weren't stupid enough to dump that damn truck in that car wash. And you're going to sit here and say, it ain't no big deal because it wasn't 40 minutes. Well, how long should it have been? Because you all didn't realize she was gone for 6 damn hours. Now stop the BS. We understand everybody has to stand account, but those other jailers need to stand account as well because they knew protocol, and no matter what Vicky's position was at the time, somebody should have called her out. I don't give a damn that you're the head knocker. You're not following protocol. I would have been a little snide ass about it. Awfully funny you keep leaving out of here with inmates and you ain't got no escort with you, ma'am. She'd have got the point. You got smart asses on every job. So you mean to tell me there weren't any smart asses up under her to make snide remarks to let her know, hey, we know what's going on with you and that Dumbo. We know you left out of here with that guy. See, somebody should have stopped her then. Ma'am, you may be my superior, but you're breaking protocol and anything could happen to you. He could overpower you, hurt you, kill you, and you also could lose your job, ma'am. That's what somebody should have said to Vicky White. Her position should not have been an issue because if you're going to use that as an excuse, her position, then this is the reason why the world is in the shape that it's in right now, because somebody sits in a superior position and people are afraid to call them out on their bullshit and their negligence. And that's why the world is in the shape that it's in, because you see stuff go on all the time and you're too afraid to say anything because, one, you don't want nobody talking bad about you. You don't want to be labeled a snitch. You don't want nobody getting you fired because you tattletaled on somebody. Well, that is the reason why he's back in jail and her ass is dead. She didn't want to go to jail. I'm crunk today. You can't handle the heat? Get out this kitchen. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Because I'm feeling some type of way about this nonsense. Because this is nonsense to me. All right, everybody, let's go on to our next source. WHNT 19, Casey White mental health defense. Lord have mercy, it gets worse by the minute.
Insanity defense in his upcoming capital murder trial, but his recent jail escape could complicate that effort. Now, the captured fugitive is back in the Donaldson Correctional Facility in Jefferson County now. Next month, Casey White is expected to go to trial for that capital murder charge. Thank you for joining us for News 19 at 6. I'm Emily Forrester.
And I'm Greg Screws, and a nationwide search was sparked after he was aided in an escape from the Lauderdale County Jail by Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White. After 11 days on the run, they were captured in Indiana May 9th. Authorities say Vicky White died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound last Monday night.
Casey White's capital murder trial is set for June 13th. He is accused of stabbing and killing Connie Ridgway back in October of 2015.
The News 19's chief investigative reporter Brian Lawson joins us now. So, Brian, authorities say Casey White confessed to the Ridgway murder. So what kind of defense can he offer here?
Right. So there could be a challenge to the alleged confession, but the defense's focus on his mental state, essentially that his mental disease was so severe he didn't understand what he was doing at the time of Connie Ridgway's killing in Rogersville. Now, Casey White was in Donaldson Prison in 2020 on unrelated charges when he reached out to former Limestone County Sheriff Mike Blakely. He allegedly confessed to Connie Ridgway's murder. He was later charged and the trial date was set for June. His escape from the jail gave him several days of freedom, but Huntsville attorney Mark McDaniel says it could damage his insanity defense.
His lawyers would have to prove two things to get him off of that capital murder case on that defense: that he had a severe mental disease or defect, and number two, because of that, he didn't understand the nature and quality or wrongfulness of his act. The fact that he did this escape in this case shows that he did know right from wrong. This shot his insanity defense to you know where.
Now, the defense has told the court Casey White has an extensive mental health treatment history at a number of facilities in Alabama. His trial is still currently set for June 13th, and the prosecution is seeking the death penalty. White's lawyers have told the court they plan to ask for a change of venue for his murder trial, citing the unfavorable publicity he's received since his jail escape.
If you only list your vacation home on Airbnb.
All right, everybody. That's News 19. If you need a source, it's on my community board for verification. WHNT. So, mental defense, insanity. As this person said in this commentary, he can't be insane because he orchestrated and went along with leaving the jail. So that shows he knew right from wrong. So, flashback to 15 when Connie Ridgway was murdered. If indeed he killed her, he knew right from wrong then. He knew right from wrong when he was carjacking everybody. He even told officials, law officials, the reason why he tried to carjack the semi-truck is because he didn't think that you all would be looking for him in a semi-truck. So that shows that he knows right from wrong and he can rationalize logic. Did you hear that? I'm trying to hijack the truck because I know you're not going to look for me in a semi-truck. So that shows cognitive reasoning. Now, information about the change of venue. The lawyer wants a change of venue because this is a high-profile case. Sir, you have to be kidding me. We don't have time for this. He's supposed to go to court, go to trial next month. He needs to be on schedule to show his tail up. You show your tail up alongside him. He's not insane, and you don't need a change of venue because all this shifting and pushing him around, hell, you are acting like he needs to be in a damn wheelchair. He's now back in the state prison because everybody knew that's where the hell he should have been in the first damn place. But he had to be arraigned in this county here because of the killing of Miss Ridgway, because this is allegedly where it took place. So this is where he has to go to court. But can't keep him in Lauderdale jail because they don't know how to run the jail and keep him safe in there without him breaking out. So he's back in the prison. Now you want to talk about a venue. You want people to just be running around wasting taxpayers' money on this dumb stuff. You people, you defense attorneys or something else. I don't know who's crazier, the jailers, the sheriff, or this damn lawyer. This is just utter madness. All right, everybody. I brought you information from Court TV about who was more responsible for this plan. You can also go to the community board to get information about the Texas capital murder inmate that's still on the run. I brought you WVTM 13 News, lessons learned from the Lauderdale County jail escape. The next content is News 19. Attorney for Casey White to request location change for murder trial. Here's the said information. Thank you for joining me.
Following his capture. Casey White's defense attorneys indicated they would be filing a motion for a change of venue for his upcoming capital murder trial. Tops News 19 at 4. Thank you for joining us. I'm Christine Killemeyer.
And I'm Jerry Hayes. Lauderdale County District Attorney Chris Connolly says he wants a case to be tried where the murder was committed. News 19 investigative reporter Dallas Parker joining us now in the studio. And Dallas, how likely is that to happen?
Well, Jerry, from what I've learned today, it's not very likely, and that's based on the public interest the case has attracted. Now, White is scheduled to go to trial in June in connection to the murder of Rogersville woman Connie Ridgway in October 2015. Lauderdale County DA Chris Connolly says White broke into Ridgway's home and robbed and stabbed her. Connolly believes it was an effort to get money for drugs. Now, White is facing a new unrelated charge for escaping, and his attorneys want to move that June trial to a new location, given all of the attention he's received for the escape attempt. But Huntsville attorney Mark McDaniel, who is not connected to Casey White, says the challenge is there aren't many people anywhere who don't know about this recent escape.
Exactly.
It's real hard to get a change of venue. And in this particular case, this publicity's been worldwide. It's been all over, international. So where in Alabama would the publicity be somewhat less?
Exactly.
They can move it to Mobile or something like somewhere like that.
Now, again, White's defense team mentioned the plan to file earlier this week, and as of just a few minutes ago, a motion for a change of venue has not yet been filed. Jerry?
Rising prices of it is all pretty hard.
All right, so
especially the utility bills.
In this commentary, they say the case needs to take place where the crime took place. I'm a little confused on that. I'll get more information pertaining to that because, as I told you when I was searching for information about her death, everything about what's going on now keeps coming up. And not a lot of details pertaining to her actual case itself. Because when you Google her name, everything about this mess comes up. So now you finally hear in this commentary that he broke into her house. This is News 19, WHNT, if you need verification for the information I'm repeating. That he broke into her house, and it is believed that when he broke into her house, it was for the means of getting money, valuables to purchase drugs. Because he was a known addict at the time of his crime spree in 15 and also the murder of Miss Ridgway in 15. And then he confessed and then recanted. My thing is this. For those who are confused about this subject matter, and like I said, I'm not here to argue anything about anything in the case because everything's been misinformed as far as who did what, sat where, gun here, car there, tag there. I'm no longer disputing anything because I'm at the point where I don't care. Because it's like you're beating a dead horse. There's evidentiary material pertaining to the death of Connie Ridgway that obviously links Mr. White to the case. That has been reported this week. I've brought you the commentary in my last live pertaining to that information. And naturally, law officials will not reveal what they're talking about because it has to go to trial. You will hear it during the trial. But there's information, evidentiary material to link Casey to the case. And we'll leave it at that. And the fact that her murder took place same year, 2015, what are the odds? And White confessed to a crime that you did not commit. Now, one could say, well, he did it so he can get closer to Vicky White up at the Lauderdale jail. Maybe. But then after that, he recants and says, no, I didn't do it. So one would wonder if this was just a ruse to get closer to Vicky White and the Lauderdale jail. You're entitled to your interpretation of the said information. Thank you so much for joining me. Here's my last commentary last video before I give my commentary on the dry run, alleged dry run, his defense of insanity, and a change of venue. Do you agree that his case should be moved to another jurisdiction because of all the rhetoric and news media about the case? 2, is he insane? Not insane. 3, did Vicky White do a dry run with Casey White days before or months before April 29th? Thank you for joining me. News 19 WHNT did a special a day ago pertaining to Lauderdale County Detention Center, Casey White and Vicky White, and how this story came to be. This is an 18-minute, 56-second video. Thank you for your patience and your time. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $DeGanji129 Cash App. All super chats and super stickers are welcome during this live. In this commentary, you will hear that Vicky did take Casey White out of the jail days before April 29th. Please listen carefully.
Apparently escaped our detention center. A convicted felon tastes a week and a half of freedom. There was some planning that went into this. After more than 6 consecutive years behind bars.
He didn't like it down there and wanted to get back in the county jail.
But at what cost?
He has nothing to lose. With his violent past, he is extremely dangerous.
A well-respected corrections officer, now dead.
I don't know what the level of, manipulation that he had on her.
His other victims re-traumatized.
Totally shocked. I'm just completely shocked. Like, how is it even possible?
And a manhunt spanning 11 days, 3 vehicles, 4 states, and nearly a dozen law enforcement agencies.
Oh my God, this is probably this guy from Alabama.
Ends in a 2-mile chase and a convicted felon back in custody.
We got a dangerous man off the street today. He is never going to see the light of day again.
This is News 19 special coverage. On the Run, the Casey White and Vicky White story.
A turbulent 2 weeks thrusts North Alabama into the national spotlight as the manhunt for a convicted felon and the corrections officer who helped him escape grips the country. Thank you for joining us for this special edition of News 19 at 6:30 on the Run. I'm Christine Killemeyer.
And I'm Jerry Hayes. The nationwide search for Casey White and Vicky White officially began on Friday, April 29th, when the two left the Lauderdale County Detention Center in Florence. But the bizarre storyline surrounding Casey began more than 6 years ago. Over the next half hour, we will review how they snuck out, how they were caught, and what comes next in this case.
But right now, Casey is back at the William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility in Bessemer. He had already spent nearly 2 years there, serving 75 years for previous convictions.
And this is his latest mugshot, taken today after he was returned to the maximum security state prison. Before arriving in Jefferson County, though, Casey first faced a judge in Lauderdale County, along with a slew of law enforcement officers.
And that includes Sheriff Rick Singleton, who joins us now live from Lauderdale County. Sheriff, thank you for taking the time to be with us this evening.
You're welcome.
All right, so Sheriff Singleton, do you still believe that Casey and Vicky acted alone in this? Is there any sort of ongoing investigation into any possible accomplices in this case?
Well, that's something we've been looking at from the very beginning. There's been no evidence that anyone else was involved other than Casey White and Vicky White. Sheriff Singleton, the Associated Press has reported that Vicky took Casey White out of the jail for about 40 minutes a few days before the escape. What can you tell us about that, and when did you become aware that that had taken place? I was asked about that early last week. That's the first time I've heard 40 minutes. I inquired of the investigators if they had uncovered any evidence that there was a, quote, dry run days before the escape. The Fugitive Task Force agents assured me they had absolutely no evidence that that took place. I do understand that they did leave, but they were only gone a matter of minutes. What that was about, I don't know. We haven't found out about that, but that was discovered when we were researching the video there in the detention center, where she was seen a couple of days earlier taking him out alone, and in just a matter of minutes returned with him.
They said it's about enough time to go around the block. So where the 40 minutes thing came from, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. But they, the marshal said there's absolutely, and I was asking about a dry run, and they said there's absolutely no dry run.
Now, Sheriff, is there anything else you've been able to learn about the relationship between Vicky and Casey? You've said before that this goes back to at least 2020.
Well, we know that between 2020, when he was in our facility for his arraignment on the capital murder charges, and he was returned to Donaldsonville Prison right after that arraignment, he was returned here February the 25th of this year, and we do know that there was telephone contact between the two of them off and on during that 2-year period. As far as any other relationship beyond that, we haven't uncovered any evidence that there was any other relationship prior to 2020. If there was, we're not aware of it at this point.
Sheriff Singleton, I've heard that you had a conversation with Vicky's mother yesterday. What was said in that conversation, and how is she doing?
She is taking this very hard. First and foremost, the fact that her daughter was involved in this. Again, this is not the daughter they knew. And when I called her yesterday, it was to offer my condolences on the loss of Vicky. And really, that's all the conversation about. She was obviously very upset about the death of her daughter, and the conversation wasn't really prolonged and really didn't discuss anything other than condolences on Vicky's death.
Obviously, there's still much to happen when it comes to Casey White. What are the arrangements that are being made to house Casey White, and what kind of security will be set up when he does come back to face his capital murder charge in the death of Connie Ridgway?
Well, there's a possibility he won't come back. I know his attorneys last night at the arraignment informed the judge they would be requesting a change of venue. Those motions will be forthcoming in the weeks ahead. So I don't know what the judge's final decision will be on that. If there is a change of venue, he will not be coming back here for trial. If there is no change of venue, then he will be brought back here. I don't know. I will be looking into that and conferring with the Department of Corrections, and there's a possibility we may seek to house him in a different facility than ours. But if he is in our facility, I can assure you there will be extra precautions taken to make sure that he stays there.
Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton, we appreciate you taking time to talk to us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Have a good hour. Hello?
The 911 call from Vicky White as U.S. Marshals chased her and Casey White. You'll hear more from that call moments before the 11-day manhunt came to an end.
And we'll take a look at their route after escaping the Lauderdale County Jail and detail how they traveled to southern Indiana. More on how far Casey and Vicky White made it while on the run next. The manhunt lasted 11 days and ultimately stretched across 4 states, though tip line reports had Vicky and Casey White as far away as Oregon.
The pair managed to stay hidden from law enforcement despite a nationwide alert and the U.S. Marshals Network on the lookout. It appears connecting one tip to another, though, ultimately made the difference. News 19 Chief Investigative Reporter Brian Lawson joins us now in the studio. So, Brian, they were out of sight kind of a long time, but they really didn't actually travel that far.
No, that's right. As the sheriff and the marshals have said, the tips on possible sightings came from all over the country. We got a detailed tip at News 19 on Sunday from an alleged sighting in Arkansas, but it turns out their escape route was pretty straightforward. The escape from the Lauderdale County Jail is apparently long into planning, but took just 30 seconds for Vicky White to remove Casey White and head out. Her sheriff's vehicle was found 5 miles away a few hours later, but it wasn't until late that afternoon that sheriff's office employees figured out the pair was missing. Last Friday, a car Vicky White had bought a few days before the escape was located near Bethesda, Tennessee, about 2 hours from Florence. The car had been left by the side of the road and towed the same day of the escape, but it wasn't ID'd until last Friday, meaning investigators were a week behind.
We're assuming where it was abandoned. and it was abandoned so quickly that they probably had mechanical problems with it.
AP is now reporting the pair bought a pickup truck in the area shortly after the escape and left the Ford Edge behind. But the fate of the truck was the break investigators needed. On Monday, it was reported to have been located after being dumped in a car wash in Evansville, Indiana. A sharp-eyed manager made the connection.
The truck's still there. I walk up to the truck and I think, oh my God, this is probably this guy from Alabama.
Car wash surveillance video also appeared to show Casey White. Marshals descended on the area, and on Sunday they were looking for the Cadillac that surveillance footage showed the pair leaving in. The car was located at an Evansville motel Monday, where they had a room booked for 2 weeks, according to Vanderburgh County Sheriff Dave Wedding.
We were fortunate that during our investigation yesterday, an Evansville police officer who was just doing his good diligence of patrolling and being smart noticed the vehicle in the parking lot of the hotel and notified us immediately. So the task force members.
The AP has reported that Sunday investigators linked the VIN number from the truck purchased in Tennessee to the truck left at the car wash. That made Evansville the focus. Christine, Jerry?
Right, thank you. After identifying Casey and Vicky White were staying at a motel in Evansville, U.S. Marshals placed it under surveillance.
Soon after, the two emerged with Vicky wearing a wig. They got into the Cadillac and drove off. U.S. Marshals then followed, but the officers were seen, and that started a brief pursuit. That pursuit ended when officers rammed the car into a ditch, causing it to roll over. Vanderburgh County Sheriff Dave Wedding says while interrogating Casey after his capture, officials learned the fugitive planned to have a shootout with police.
The members of the U.S. task force basically rammed the vehicle and pushed it into a ditch. And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement.
Indiana authorities have released dash camera footage showing the moments that Casey White was pulled out of the crashed getaway car. The Vanderburgh County Sheriff's Office says Casey surrendered, and you can see officers had forced him to the ground, and then they pulled him up and walked him back. They say officials say as he called out, walking away, saying, "Please help my wife," but it isn't clear why he referred to Vicky as his wife. The officers continued to look around the car before eventually getting Casey up from the ground and walking him back to that patrol vehicle.
Meanwhile, authorities say Vicky shot herself sometime after the crash. She was taken to the Evansville Deaconess Midtown Hospital, where she later died that night at 7 p.m. Vanderburgh County Coroner Stephen Lockyer reports that she died of a single self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And after taking the pair into custody, law enforcement began to search the vehicle.
Inside that vehicle, they found $29,000 in cash, which authorities believe is the money left over from when Vicky White sold her house. They also found 4 handguns. Some were semi-automatic. The couple had an AR-15 rifle and extra magazines for each weapon. They also found Vicky White's duty belt, which included handcuffs and a taser. And authorities also found camping and survival gear. Investigators say the two really didn't have any ties to the Evansville area.
Now, the moments leading up to their capture in that less than 2-mile chase were intense, to say the least. News 19 has obtained audio from a 911 call from inside Vicky and Casey's car during that chase.
We are not sure of the origin of that call, though police dispatchers in Indiana believe it might have been an accidental call. News 19 investigative reporter Dallas Parker joins us now to explain.
That's right. From what we can hear in the audio and understand about the final moments before Casey and Vicky White were rammed into a ditch by U.S. Marshals, Vicky White seems to be fearful. She can be heard begging Casey White to stop the car, and authorities say she shot herself just moments before they approached the overturned car. Be advised, the 911 call audio you're about to hear may be disturbing to some viewers.
911. Hello? John. Airbags are going on. Let's get out and run. Let's stay to the hotel.
Hello?
A short time after the car crash, responding law enforcement can be heard saying that Vicky White is shot, unconscious but breathing, with a gun in her hand. Casey White surrendered to police, and Vicky ultimately died in Indiana hospital from what authorities say was a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
All right, Dallas, thank you. After being on the run for 11 days, Casey, back in Alabama, he will soon face charges for the death of a woman in 2015, where he's being held in Alabama, and how soon his capital murder trial could begin. After being captured by officials in Indiana, Casey White taken to a local jail.
Then Tuesday morning, he appeared in an Indiana court virtually and waived extradition. From then, the two sheriff's offices got in touch with one another, working on a plan to get Casey White back to Alabama. Lauderdale County Sheriff's deputies drove to Evansville, picked him up from the jail, and began the more than 4-hour drive back home.
They drove straight from Indiana to the Lauderdale County Courthouse last night, arriving at the court steps just before 10. Sheriff Rick Singleton and deputies immediately led him inside to the courtroom so he could be charged in connection to his escape.
News 19's Addison Willman was in the courtroom with Casey White last night. He joins us now live from outside of the Lauderdale County Courthouse with more. Addison?
That's right. Casey White was brought straight from Indiana to the Lauderdale County Courthouse. There, he arrived at about 10 o'clock and was escorted straight to the courtroom, where he was then read his newest charge, that is, escape in the first degree. Escape in the first degree is a Class B felony, which could put Casey White in prison for 2 to 20 years. On top of that, he was already serving a 75-year sentence for other violent crimes committed in 2015 that spanned 2 counties and 2 states. Right now, Casey is being held in the William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility, a maximum security prison. But before he can go on trial for his escape, Casey White will first go on trial for the murder of Connie Ridgway in 2015. Lauderdale County District Attorney Chris Connolly says they want to bring him to justice.
Well, we want to hold him accountable for what he's done. So, Connie Ridgway's family have been with us, and we've been with them. So, our heart goes out to them and any other victims that he's taken advantage of. But, certainly Connie is at the forefront of our mind tonight.
If convicted, Casey White could face the death penalty. He's set to go on trial for capital murder on June 13th in connection with the death of Connie Ridgway back in 2015. The defense stated that they would be filing a motion for a change of venue, but during the arraignment, Judge Ben Graves stated that he is unlikely to change the date of the trial. Connolly also told us that they may pursue further charges as more evidence is brought to them. For now, live in Lauderdale County, Addison Willman, News 19.
Casey, thank you. And after being charged, or Addison, thank you. After being charged in his escape, Casey White was loaded back into the transport van.
And from the Lauderdale County Courthouse, he was taken back to the Donaldson Correctional Facility in Bessemer. He arrived there around 1 a.m. Casey White, again, already serving that 75-year prison term in the facility before being transferred to the Lauderdale County Jail back in February. While in Donaldson, Casey confessed to the fatal stabbing of Connie Ridgway. Casey's attorneys say the prison did not grant them adequate access to their client in Bessemer, so they called for him to be transferred to the Lauderdale County Detention Center. A judge agreed and signed off on that transfer. Again, this was back in February.
And after his escape, Connie Ridgway's family said they found it tougher to celebrate Mother's Day. But after learning he had been recaptured, they finally felt peace.
The chances were against us, given Casey's history, the timeline, all that. It just didn't seem like it was going to end very well. That was very likely. So we've just been hoping and praying for the best possible outcome. And it looks like we've gotten day difference. It's like a huge relief. It feels like a miracle has happened. It's just night and day from being heavy, hard to sleep, to like, wow, the sun's shining again.
Casey will be housed at Donaldson until his next court date. For now, the court must work out if he will be tried in Lauderdale County or if the trial will move somewhere else.
After the Vanderburgh County coroner performed an autopsy last night, Vicky White's body was picked up by a Florence funeral home and returned to Lauderdale County.
Her family will hold a funeral for her this weekend in Lexington. This story is far from over. It could go on for years at this point, depending on how quickly Casey's cases make it through the court system.
And News 19 will be there keeping you informed every step Thanks for joining us for this News 19 special, On the Run, the Casey White and Vicky White story.
All right, everybody, that's news content coming out of Alabama. On the Run special. If you want to rewatch it, it's in the queue, and it's also on my community page, News 19. It's the source, WHNT. I'm going to recap what was said in that. First, I'm going to start off with the insanity defense. I do not believe that Casey White is insane because during this walkout, breakout, however you want to word it, he showed he knew right from wrong. He showed he knew right from wrong. And to show you that Queen always brings a source pertaining to the subject matter, what is the definition of insanity? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. These words are credited by the great genius Albert Einstein. Traits of an insane person: confused thinking or reduced ability to concentrate, excessive fears or worries or extreme feelings of guilt, extreme mood swings of highs and lows, withdrawal from friends and activities. What is the difference between mental illness and insanity? Mental illness is usually a broader and more inclusive term than insanity. Insanity is usually reserved for describing severe conditions involving psychotic-like breaks with reality, while mental illness can include both severe and milder forms of mental problems, such as anxiety disorders and mild depressions. What are some examples of insanity? The definition of insanity is having a serious mental illness or being extremely foolish. An example of insanity is a personality disorder. An example of insanity is jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. The state of being insane. Madness. What's the difference between crazy and insane? The two words crazy and insane can be used interchangeably. In most instances, since they are synonyms, both are similar to mad or mentally deranged. However, these two words are often used in different contexts. Crazy is mostly used in informal speech, whereas insane is more used in formal or legal contexts. How do you know if you're going insane? Number one, excessive fear, extreme feelings of guilt. This is basically warning signs of mental illness, Excessive fear, extreme feelings of guilt, chronic sadness or irritability, obsession with certain thoughts, people, or things, confused thinking or problems with concentrating, detachment from reality, delusions, paranoia, inability to cope with daily problems in a healthy manner. These are signs of mental illness in adults. What disorders make you clinically insane? Number one, anxiety, panic disorders. Number two, bipolar disorder. Number three, drug interaction checker. Number 4, mental health. 5, psychotic depression. 6, psychoaffective disorder. 7, schizophreniform disorder. 8, smoking cessation. What is the difference between genius and insanity? The only difference between genius and insanity is that the genius has its limits. Is it okay to talk to yourself? Take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Turns out, talking to yourself is a normal and healthy way of working through life's issues. Just focus on keeping your self-talk positive to get the maximum benefit. Insanity is defined as a state in which someone is seriously mentally ill. Mental illness is very complex and take different forms. You might imagine insanity to mean certain things such as hearing voices or having delusions, and this can be the case, but there are lots of other things it can include, and this is basically what insanity looks like. Let's now talk about dry run. Just 1 second. I'm going to take a brief break, and I will be right back with you guys. Thank you all for joining me. All right, thank you for joining me. There's going to be an issue with change of venue. Let's just say, for the record, they get a change of venue. Where will it be? As it was said in this commentary, many people in Alabama know of the case, heard of the case. Many people in America have heard of the case. Florence, Alabama is at the top of Alabama north. Bessemer is farther down. It is a 2-hour and 13-minute drive from Florence, Alabama to Bessemer. And Bessemer holds the Donaldson Prison, which is a maximum facility where Casey is right now. So that will take a toll driving back and forth day for day for a trial, 4 or 5 days. If indeed they just leave him at the prison, bring him up for court, then at the end of the day, drive him back down 2 hours. And due to the fact we've had all these issues of prison breaks, as one coming out of Texas assaulted a prison bus driver, you really don't want to be alone with this man very long. You're talking about a 7-foot giant, Dumbo. We don't need any more incidents and any more accidents pertaining to Casey White, nothing else. And as you heard in this commentary, Miss Pat will be burying her child, Vicky White, this weekend. I do not know the exact date, but her body has been brought back to Florence, Alabama, or back to Alabama, Lexington, Alabama is where they're going to hold her services. When I get more information, I will let you know. 2 hours and 13 minutes. Lauderdale Detention Center versus the Donaldson Prison, where Casey is currently and where he once was, the place he was dying to get out of. Don't you find it ironic? The very place he says he was getting shanked, wasn't being fed properly, he's now back there from 11-day run with Vicky White. Who's responsible for this jail break? As you heard in this commentary on the run, the sheriff acknowledges watching video content of her leaving the jail with the inmate, Mr. White. They were gone a little while, not 40 minutes, he says, and he does not know where they went. This is where I have the problem. What the hell is going on with you all down there? You can word it 1,000 different ways. Who's to blame? Not to blame. We know the obvious person to blame is Vicky White. That's a given. The point is, you cannot logically explain how she did it and why she did it days ago. She tried you and she achieved the goal. She got him out of the jail days beforehand, stayed gone for a couple of minutes, however it was, and returned. What difference does it make if she was gone 1 minute, 2 minutes? What is your damn point to argue? Well, she wasn't gone 40 minutes. I looked at the video. The point is that you're looking at it now, weeks later. That's the damn point. That's the damn point. That's the damn point. It's that she got him out of there to see if she could go with him. I asked that question days ago. Has she ever taken Casey out of that jail for any reason? Any reason. And it is despicable that you are a sheriff and you're sitting here saying she wasn't gone that long and I don't know why she took him out of the jail. So once again, nobody was doing their damn job and watching this woman and the inmate. That is your job, to watch the inmates. It doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter who's the assistant director, new director, old director, lieutenant, chief, What the hell does that have to do with the inmates? Your job is to facilitate these people and watch them. Make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do in that jail, which is be the fuck still. Now, I try to be very respectful of this man and his role, but this is ridiculous. No, he does not need to return to that jail for the obvious reasons. You don't have control of the situation. Your jailers are nonchalant and they are lax in their behavior. The people who work the jail are the ones aiding the prisoners. And as that commentary I brought you, where Mr. Gangi says they watch everything, they watch your disposition. That is why he knew to bring himself back to Lauderdale, because he found him a dummy. He found him a dummy that he could use and manipulate to get him out of the jail, and it worked. Whether he knew, didn't know, I think at this point we know he knew. Because why would you take him out of the jail days before for just a couple of minutes? To do what exactly? As I said in my commentary, well, if they left before, why not go then? But now we see she already had everything packed, probably packed up, sold up. Let me see if I can get them out this jail. Just let me see what they'll say. But that's another thing. As I said, what if she had gotten caught this time, taking them out on alone? Somebody said, hey, let me ride with you. What were you going to tell him when you got to the jail? He didn't have no damn appointment. What were you going to say days before? Hey, where are you going with him? You could have been followed by another officer. So another officer could have seen you, radioed you. Hey, stop your car. Let me holler at you for a minute. Hey, where are you going with him? Hey, you know you're not supposed to be riding him alone. This leads me to believe she's been doing this. This leads me to believe she had been taking him or other inmates out of the jail alone. That is going to be even more jacked up if we find out you go weeks and months and years into video showing this crazy ass woman taking inmates out of the jail alone. How in the hell are you going to explain that to the city of Florence, Alabama and the general public? Then it's going to be a matter of other inmates going out of the jail with other jailers. So do we have a jailer-inmate situation going on at this detention facility? Has other jailers taken inmates out alone? Monkey see, monkey do. You are responsible. And you said you are, and we're going to call you on it. You are responsible, Sheriff Singleton. This is your playhouse. This is your name on the logo as the sheriff. So you are responsible. You cannot have people doing what the fuck they want in the damn jail, because if that's the case, hey, why don't we just take them out Friday night? Let's take them to the picture show. Everybody get up on the school bus. We're going to take you to the movies tonight. And after the movies play, we're going to take you skinny dipping in a pond or a lake. Hell, just let them run all over the damn place. What is going on in this jail? Are you even giving them day passes? I'm curious. Is this the type of jail where you can check yourself in to do jail time only on the weekends? Because a lot of country southern jails do that. You get arrested for a crime, you get to go to jail on the weekends. Have y'all heard about that? Some of you probably thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Well, it happens here in the South. It happens right here in the great state of Tennessee. It's happened before. You can check yourself in on a Friday. Check yourself out on Sunday. Start the process all over the next week till you've done all your jail time. Stay woke, depending on the crime. Check in, check out. So I'm going to ask this sheriff, do you have a check-in, check-out type of jail where you let inmates come in on the weekends, do their time, then they live their life through the week till their jail time has been used up? Nobody saw nothing on the 29th of April. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago today, nobody saw nothing. 6 hours, they're out. Playing hopscotch. Hell, maybe she took them out. Hey, let's go get some ice cream. 3 days before. Come on, Casey, we're going to take you to Baskin Robbins and get you some ice cream. because you like to eat. You're a big guy. He stays hungry. He's a damn eating machine. Yes, Mayberry indeed. This is atrocious behavior. This is bull, you know what. Stop making excuses. This other Calhoun sheriff talking about he respects him, blah, blah, blah. It's not his fault. Well, whose fault is it? Because somebody has to take responsibility what the hell happened down there. You all are lax down there. You already said it's overcrowded. They're sleeping on the floor. A woman talked to the news saying it's chaotic. That leads me to believe you don't have any structure in your detention facility in Lauderdale. Your jailers are lax. They're nonchalant. They're probably talking on phones, sleeping on the job, feet on the desk. They're not doing nothing. They're probably not getting up, checking on people. Probably not giving their meds on time. They're not doing nothing. Just processing them in and processing them out. What you basically have is an adult daycare. Nap time, lunch time, TV time, playtime. This is ridiculous. And I said I was going to wait on the information to see, had Vicky White taken him out of the jail before the 29th. It has now been mentioned in this On the Run commentary. If you need a source, News 19 is the source. He says it out of his own mouth. That investigators investigated any improprieties with her and him beforehand. Outside sources help? No. But then he goes on to say, yes, I did watch video of her leaving with him out of the jail for a little while. But it is not 40 minutes. Who gives a rat's ass? 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What is your point when days later she left out of there with him? Sir, retire from the job. Close that jail. I'm saying it during this live. That jail does not need to be open. You all have no control over the inmates, and you and the sheriff, you have no control over the jailers, because this shows a lack of concern for the inmates and the safety of the other inmates and the other staff. If you are just going to let people walk around, do what they want, open doors, closet doors, they probably were having sex in there. Yeah, I'm going to go on and say it now. Because I don't know the jail. I don't know how it's set up. I don't know anything. But I know that this woman's been walking around going out the damn jail with a fucking inmate. So that leads me to believe anybody and everybody could have been coming and going. People could have been bringing children in there. Hell, for all I know, you're bringing people from the outside. They coming in and spending the damn night with the damn inmates. This is atrocious behavior. And you jailers ought to be ashamed of yourselves as well, because you watched and allowed shit go on in there. You knew they were gossiping about her and that boy. One of you should have went and said something to her superior. Everybody has a boss. I don't give a damn if you're the chief of police, lieutenant, commissioner. Everybody has a boss. You are not the only head knocker. And that is why the world is in the shape it's in, because people do what they want and use their position and title as a way to do what the hell they want without any reprimand or repercussions. And because you're in a field that's just like the street, don't snitch, don't tattletale, that's why she did what the fuck she wanted to do in there, and that's why she took him out more than once, and that's why now she's dead. You need to quit talking to the news, sir. Don't do no more interviews. Don't talk about nothing pertaining to Casey White, Vicky White. It's over with now. He's in custody in a jail, prison, excuse me. He's going to trial next month. Stop talking. Because now you just sound stupid. And I'm saying it. I don't care who don't like it. It don't make no damn sense. What else are we going to hear about Lauderdale? Oh my goodness, on Thursday nights, They let us sit outside. And we get to lay outside under the shade tree, drinking, mint juleps and stuff. What the hell? What else is going on in this jail? Because I got a sneaky suspicion there's some other BS that's going to come out pertaining to Vicky White, Casey White, the jailers, and the inmates. Hello, KM. How you doing? Yes, it's a disgrace. And as the article I read to you where Mr. Gandy is talking about inmates watching people, they're looking for the loophole. They're looking for the one opportunity to get on, out, manipulation. That is what Casey White did. He took advantage of the situation because he saw a loophole. His loophole was Vicky White. He probably also saw that the other jailers aren't paying attention to Vicky White at that time. So if he's paying attention, the other jailers, the other inmates were paying attention as well. Same reason why you have an inmate on the run in Texas. He was paying attention to an opportunity to overpower the driver of the bus, stab the driver, and get out of the bus. So now you got to ask yourself, the bus had other inmates on it, but they stayed because they said, hell, I'm not going on the run. So where was the weapon for him to use to stab the driver on that situation? So that means you took an inmate out who had a shank on him. What are we saying? Or the driver had a knife on him. I'm confused. This is a mess. This is a hot butter mess down there in Florence, Alabama. You all have no business working in the jail to any capacity. And I don't think it should even be open, because the fact that you don't even have room for the inmates tells me everything I need to know. That you don't even go to the appropriate people to try to get the jail expanded or get a new facility built to house inmates. And that is the reason why you have this mess that occurred down there, because you don't got no structure. And the inmates will see that. And it will happen again. And for you to say when he comes back to trial, he'll be at the same facility, there'll be appropriate protocol. Well, we know that's BS, because right now he's down in Donaldson. So why did you all agree for him to go to Donaldson? Because somebody over you thought he don't got no business in your damn jail because he got out of there. So we're going to let him stay in the prison till trial. So to say when trial comes, he'll be back, hell no. They're going to make sure he goes to another facility near Florence, Alabama, Calhoun, wherever, because they're not going to risk this happening again in your jail. I doubt that they'll even bring him back to Lauderdale in June. For what reason? He ain't there now, allegedly. So what would be the point of bringing him back? Because it's trial. This is sickening to me. And I don't think the sheriff is aware of what the hell is going on in his own jail. Because I think perhaps he's too jolly-go-lightly. His jailer was jolly-go-lightly. That's why you had the incident on April 29th. And you had other jailers who didn't give a you-know-what. They're probably somewhere watching Young and the Restless on their iPhones, talking to people, video chatting. Doing nothing. And my own sister works in the city jail in Chicago, processing the women coming in. And I know she don't do nothing because she likes to stay on her damn cell phone talking to people on social media. How about that? She loves her cell phone. Taking selfies all damn day. Pictures of herself at work, behind her desk at work in the jail. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. If I can look at her and see a person that stays on her cell phone all damn day while working in the jail, I know damn well that's what the hell they were doing down there in that damn jail in damn Alabama. That jail is a playhouse. And you don't need it. Shut it down. Go build a bigger facility in another county that can house at least 2 or 3 cities of crime and keep it moving. Because this will happen again. Yes, Aisha, true. Most of his answers is, I don't know. I don't know. That's why some people had a problem with him in the beginning, because he was giving out misinformation pertaining to the crime up in Indiana. Getting it mixed up, who was driving the car, who shot themselves. That's why you don't speak until you have verification of the information. That's why I always tell you all, I do not argue anything about what somebody did or said in a story because I wasn't there. And if I can't get confirmation from the news, it's no point in me going back and forth about who did what. This is the only crime I've seen where nobody got the versions right. Gun in the hand, gun in the seat. Shot herself. Then y'all think she didn't shoot herself. But we already know he's driving. He can't shoot her, drive the car too at the same time. Because he's too busy trying to get away. And what's the purpose in shooting her? You're already facing 75 years plus a new charge of murder that could give you the death penalty. Shooting her would be pointless. Pointless. Car here, car there. Car bought, car stolen. Still don't even know how they got from the Ford Edge to the pickup truck. Hitchhike, called an Uber, what? We don't even have an exact estimation of how far the edge is to the next town, to the next town. To the Walmart, to the gas station. Still, nobody said. This is how far it takes to get from where they dropped the car off to the Walmart, to the gas station, to the nearest anything. Nothing. Just sitting here guessing. You just giving us bits and pieces of the story. And then what you're giving us, you don't got no verification. Then you got to take it back because, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. That wasn't right. Oops, I'm sorry, that wasn't right. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Then you got the crazy sheriff up in Indiana. He's nasty and rude every time he does an interview, short and abrupt. He act like he mad. Oh, I'm sorry they went on the run and came to your city. So sorry. Sorry they're wasting your damn time. That's why he wanted to get him on his way back to Alabama. And he didn't want to be bothered with it. He didn't care what he did up there. He wanted him out of his facility and back to Alabama. That was obvious. But this shows you the system is broken from the court to the high court all the way down to the jail. There will always be improprieties so long as you're dealing with two-legged creatures. There will always be somebody that will milk the system, somebody that will be a user, manipulator, a liar, thief. It's all the same. It will happen in the jail, the courts, police officers, law officials, because they're human. There will always be somebody breaking out of jail. There'll be somebody that'll aid them. There'll be nasty guards, dirty guards. How do you all think stuff gets into prison and the jail? The guards bring that stuff in there. You all need to stay woke. The drugs is coming in. It's the jailers, the officers, bringing the drugs in, the cell phones, paraphernalia. Stay woke. Because when visitors come in, they don't get to see or touch the person. So they can't hand them nothing because they make sure to watch them when they come in the day rooms, in the prisons. So then you have to ask yourself, if you're talking to them through a glass in the jail, how are the inmates getting access to drugs? Cell phones. That means somebody from the outside is bringing them on the inside. Yeah, I agree. He probably didn't want to be bothered because of the money. And that's another thing, too. Where's the rest of that money that Casey had? I mean, Casey and Vicky. Because I believe she had more than $90,000. You just know that she took 90 out the bank. Who's to say what else she had? Savings and checkings. You mean to tell me savings and checkings, life insurance policies all added up to 90,000, but yet she only got 90,000 from the sale of the house? That means there's something off with that too. There had to be more money she had in the bank. Because then that means you're saying she had no money or no checkings or savings before the sale of the house. So what was she living off of then? Before she sold her house? Where would her money be going before the sale of her house? See, you have to ask all those questions. Very sick story. I'm not going to hold you all. It's the weekend. But this is my commentary pertaining to this detention facility. I don't think they need to have it open. As far as the change of venue, I do not know if that will happen. They said it's very rare that they will move a venue. But one thing I will say, you can have the venue in that town, Florence, but he doesn't need to be in the jail. Let me say that. Keep the venue, keep the trial in the area where it's at, but Casey White don't need to go back to Lauderdale. Hell no. Hell no. Because this place is too lax and it has a nonchalant attitude. And now we know that Vicky took him out of the jail days before. There's nobody in their right mind that's going to agree that Casey White should ever go back to Lauderdale for any reason, trial or no trial. He has no business back there. He is better off at the maximum security facility where he is, where he can be locked down 23 hours a day, let out for 1 hour for exercise, and back in the hole. Because this should have never happened. And it's sad that you have weak-minded people who act like they're afraid to say something to their superior who wasn't but 5'5". So in the end, besides Vicky White being gullible and green, these other jailers are no different than she is, in my opinion. Because one of you or more watched her behavior with the inmate. You heard the rumors about her and the inmate, and you watched her come and go with that man alone. That also leads us to believe nobody was watching the cameras ever in the jail. How about that? So what's the purpose of the security cameras? She knew they were working and she didn't care. Casey don't have to care because he's an inmate. Why should he care? This all going to fall on her. He's already doomed. Don't matter. So who was watching the cameras April 29th? I'll wait. Took you 6 hours to realize the woman was gone with an inmate. You possibly thought he overpowered her till you realized she left the squad car with the handcuffs and keys, paraphernalia behind. So your mind got to wonder, nah, I don't think so. Our jailer is complicit. Do us all a favor and do your community a favor. Specifically them, people who live down there in Florence. Honey, close that jail. That jail don't need to be open because you all don't know what you're doing down there. And you're going to mess around and get somebody hurt down there in Florence, Alabama. Somebody's going to get severely hurt because you don't have direct direction, manpower, and a leader to follow the script. Because what I'm seeing is a playhouse for adults. Monkey see, monkey do. She don't do nothing, he don't do nothing. I'm not going to do nothing. They ain't worried, I ain't worried. They're lax, I'm lax. They're oblivious, I'm oblivious. They don't care, I don't care. These people are going to work, getting a free damn paycheck. whether they make a lot of money or not. It's free money when you're not doing a damn thing. How about that? And it's also free money with benefits and a pension down the road, so long as you don't get fired. That's my commentary for this afternoon. You all have a safe weekend. God bless all of you. When I get more commentary pertaining to the funeral arrangements of Vicky White, I will bring it to you. I'll post it on my community posts. Anything else that comes out pertaining to Casey White, I'll bring you that said information. But I see this story, it's just a big circle of nothing. Because I don't know if anybody knows what the hell really happened with these two. Who did what, when, who's on first, who's on second. Because I still don't even have verification of the first two trucks, how they came to be, the tags, nothing. Nothing has even been clarified to how they got from the Ford Edge to the pickup truck. Don't you find that strange? This is just a hot butter mess. And as I said, it will happen again because people are people. People are flawed. People make mistakes. People are tainted. People are easily to be coerced, bamboozled, hoodwinked, manipulated, used. So I pray for anybody out here, man or woman. Be careful of the company you keep. Be careful of the people that are trying to do you in. You see somebody is manipulative, sound manipulative, always needing something, always hinting at needing something, cut them off and keep it moving. And if you're in a situation of authority such as this lady was, you better be very careful because sometimes a kind word, a smile can lead to what happened in this jail. Because in the end, that's what they're looking for, is a loophole, a way to get in, a way to infiltrate. And that's what Casey White did. Because at some point, they've had to have talked about him getting out, him not being guilty. Come on now. Then the flip side is, as some people say, maybe he didn't know about it. It's all on her. But I don't think that now, knowing she took him out of the jail days before, because the ultimate question would be to her, where are we going? Where are we going, Vicky? Where are you taking me, Vicky? So what was her response days before the 29th of April? Oh, I just want to take you on a little ride around the corner. You don't mind, do you? Come take you to get your ice cream cone, Casey. I'll bring you right back. You want me to believe she never said nothing in that conversation? That is when you know he knew about the escape plan. We're going to do a dry run to see if they notice us gone. See if they radio my car. Stay woke. So yes, Casey White knew of the plan. She knew of the plan. That's the end of the story. Thank you for joining me. Have a great weekend. God bless all of you. Stay safe. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Same to you, Christine.